Hey everyone, welcome to the Happy Farm D podcast. I'm Alex Barker, I'm the founder, and with me today, I have my good friend, Brian Bisher. We're talking about entrepreneurship. We're talking about some of the lessons he's learned as a parent and how it's helped him kind of take on his own journey into entrepreneurship. As if you've listened to anything before with me, you know how much I think entrepreneurship is so important in pharmacy because we need more innovation, we need more jobs. That's how we're going to get through this crazy crisis. So I've gotten to know Brian I think I've known you for like a year now or something like that.
Yeah.
And he has started his own company. It's all about fitness and coaching and health. And I wanted to have him on the show, kind of just share some of the lessons he's learning as he's growing and his own business, and hopefully to inspire you. If you have a crazy idea, I think that's what Brian thought he had one day. He's taken some action. He's learned a lot of lessons. And I just wanted to have him come on the show to share some of those. So Brian, hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, Alex, thanks. Great to be here. Really, I actually love the podcast and the first series you did. That was a great series. And I really think you're bringing a light, really important concept of entrepreneurship and pharmacy. And just great to be a part of talking about the importance of this and how more people can get into it. Because my fear was I was never going to be an entrepreneur, and that's just like our personality type, right? We're
right.
not really meant to be. We're not really designed to be entrepreneurs. So
yeah, it was never on my radar. I mean, when I went to school, the last thing I was thinking about was being an independent pharmacist. You know, just that sounded like a nightmare based on what everyone else was saying. But here I am, I guess independent, but not in the traditional pharmacy practice. So give us a little bit of background, talk about like at the high level, like who is Brian Bisher and how did you get to where you are now?
yeah, so I was working in a hospital for about 5 years after graduating, little community hospital here, and I just saw just a need for people needing like an advocate or somebody that would really help them, take control of their health and their medications. And that was this grandiose idea that I started with, right? So I went back to become a health coach, and I thought, I'm going to solve the world and solve everybody's problems. And did that whole year of health coaching program and came out of it. And, my wife and I had talked, we're like, okay, we're going to do we got like our 5-year plan here. We're going to a couple years to get the business started and, goal of being full-time within like 5 years. Right. So, and that was a huge leap right there, just even talking about that and trying to set that plan in stone. 1 year into that, we get pregnant. So that,
whoops.
yeah. So, I mean, it's a blessing because I know some people have trouble getting pregnant, but it was like, oh crap, what are we going to do? This really ruins my plan. It threw me into this mindset of now, should I even start working on this business? Because am I really going to be able to pay a lot of attention to it? Am I going to want to pay a lot of attention to it as I become a new father and take on that role? And that the fear of losing that secure job that you talk about, and it's just that fear that we have to get over. But it actually did hold me back my first year of business.
What was the trigger? What made you jump?
Just actually, it happened when my son was born. I thought, I definitely see a bigger purpose in my life, taking on that role as a father. And I actually was kind of happy that my business failed that first year and it really didn't take off at all. And
whoa. Failures don't happen in business, just happy learning lessons. I feel like I stole that from a show. Happy little mistakes. What was it and why was it a failure?
I basically, like I said, I didn't really pick a market that was small enough to really address a real significant problem that people would be willing to pay for. I just thought, I'm a pharmacist. Now I got this, this holistic coaching practice, and I'm like, everybody's going to want to come to me to help solve their problems. Not true.
Yeah, I've talked about that on the show before, that when you have an idea, when you first start, you're like, oh, everyone's going to throw their money at me. Maybe it's an American thing. Like it's in our DNA to just think that way, that, oh yeah, I'll be Jeff Bezos by, 2 weeks from now. But it never happens that way. It's always full of way more problems than what you ever anticipated. And my own journey, I've got so many failures. I feel like I need to make like a hall of fame, not to like belittle myself, but really to just really appreciate where I am in this journey and how I've gotten to where I am. But it sounds like, I mean, obviously you took that lesson from, you know, having your child born, overcoming your fear, getting involved. So when your child was born, is that when you started your first business, or is that when you started your current business?
That's when I made a switch. I really took some time to reflect on my own journey, and I thought, okay, who can I really help? Like, what is that
Hmm.
market that I can make the biggest impact in? And so I really got focused. I got more. I got a better vision about my business during that first year that my son was born. Leading up to it, I would even say like I just I almost anticipated that I wouldn't be able to keep it on, like keep going. Like I wasn't far enough into my business venture to like then welcome a son into the world and also be that father and have that role. And then the fear of losing like my job and having to raise a son really, fed into that. I wasn't really all into the business, I would say. It was like I was partially there and I was somewhat committed, but I wasn't fully committed. And then once I saw him and he was born, I thought, wow, this just like my purpose, my vision for my company became more and more clear each day.
Mm.
And so I would even say I was more productive once I became a father, and I've made more progress in my business since becoming a father.
Mm. What do you think it was about having a child that made you really serious about commitment?
I would say it was the life that I wanted to create for him. And I knew that I didn't want to be coming home from an unfulfilled career, this, and having any kind of resentment towards him, whether subconsciously or consciously, thinking, you're the reason I didn't pursue my dream. Right? That's
Ooh,
huge.
yeah.
That's a huge weight to carry. And if I think about that, I don't want to have that regret later on in his life,
Mm.
um, to look at him and say, you're the reason that I did not move on with my business. I gave up on my dream.
Yeah. And I think, some people who may be listening to that are like cringing because they know we've heard at some point maybe a parent say something to the effect of, you know, you're the reason why I got divorced. You're the reason why I gave up. You're the reason why I'm not a bathing suit model, you know? And hearing that is so painful, but it's a deep-seated truth about our own regrets, right? In that thinking is a victimhood mentality thinking. And it sounds like in that moment of your child being born, you kind of took the opposite approach. Hey, I'm not going to be a victim.
Yeah.
Whether this thing works out or not,
Yeah.
I'm going to try. And that must have been a very powerful transformational moment for you.
Oh, it absolutely was. And my wife, I mean, she's been so supportive. So, it really helped to have, such a supporting role in my life. And she's been
Yeah.
so understanding of all the outside time committed to it. And
Does your spouse work as well?
she does. She was full time and she's back down to part time.
Don't
So
tell me she's a pharmacist.
she's not. I'm not
Just
one of
kidding,
those
guys.
pharmacists.
Just kidding. I'll clarify here because I'll get questions. I'm not condemning pharmacists marrying pharmacists. All I'm saying is spread the wealth around, okay? Spread the wealth around. Other people need to enjoy how much pharmacists make. Okay. Putting that aside. So you're absolutely right in that you got to have a supportive spouse if you're married. I wouldn't have been able to create it without my wife either. And there's some dark moments, in that journey from being probably more so both a father and a husband that I can relate to. And I'm sure anyone who has a spouse can relate that you're asking a lot from your partner to attempt to go into something that may fail, especially with, all abandonment. You're full sail, you're trying to go all in and you're telling them like, hey, this could fail. And I'm asking you to kind of like honor me in this endeavor by just helping me out as a parent. Have you guys had those moments of the soul, the quiet moments that have challenged you both?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think it'd be crazy if we didn't have those moments where, I question myself, she questions it every once in a while, but, in the end, definitely
That's a
was,
loaded statement, but yeah, keep going. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah, definitely there was moments where I've questioned, this choice I made, but then I always go back to that initial, what got me into it in the first place. But what I was going to say is that going forward, I think it would be worse for her to have not supported me in that case, because then I would have this regret as well that,
Sure.
you know, I'm actually going to be happier. At least I can say I tried and I did not succeed in this venture, rather than having this question of what would have happened if I had done this. Right.
Right.
And I think she
Right.
really understands that. And that's what it always comes back to, is that she's just been my biggest cheerleader the whole time. And um, the ups and downs, we've gotten through them. But, you know, if I didn't try, I think it would be something that would really impact our relationship more negatively than me actually trying.
It reminds me of what my one of my mentors said to me when I was going through a really hard time in my full-time job, and I was trying to build this business, and I was really struggling with my manager. And she told me that a great manager will want you to succeed. And when you have someone who wants you to fail or doesn't want you even to try, because of the fear of failure, you're setting yourself up for a very short-term commitment. Now I'm not saying your wife is your manager, but sometimes I call my wife the big boss around here, but having her support me just kind of fuels me when stuff is bad. I had one of those moments today where I was like, well, I'll be honest, Brian, even before this recording, I had a low in my afternoon. I had a few things happen that I wasn't keen about. I didn't love it. And bad things happen in business. But just being able to express those moments to your spouse is so powerful, because when they have your back. And let me ask you, before you made that transition, now obviously you're talking with her about this. You're talking with her about how you want to make this change happen for you and your family and your lifestyle. Did you have a lot of convincing to do for her, or was she on board with it from minute one?
I mean, she definitely had some questions, especially, when you're talking about trying to replace a pharmacist's salary. That's a certain lifestyle that you get used to living.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Understood.
it's not that she's a very, she's always been very conscious about spending money and everything. So that wasn't really the main thing. I think it was just time, because she's a very, that's her love language, is just time.
Uh,
And so she was
mm-hmm.
afraid that it was going to take too much of my time away from her. And so we just set clear expectations, clear boundaries when I would work, and really try to stick with that. And it's like, I think she sees that what she sees is me spending time on a passion and this side hustle, this business, and how much more invigorated it's made me with life, and how much more I'm into everything else I'm doing. And when I'm spending time with her and I'm spending time with my son, I'm fully there, I'm fully present. And that right there may not be the case if I was constantly thinking about what if.
Absolutely. Or if you filled up your life with, a hobby to deaden you, right? And that's what a lot of guys do. I know many of them in my community who, hate what they do. And so they pour themselves into their lawn or their golf hobby, or, whatever thing they have, and they give up on the thing they really want because it's easier. It's easier to enjoy comfort and to not have a hard discussion or make hard decisions like that. I remember when we first started doing my side hustle, getting into some pretty heated discussions, as my wife likes to call them, about expectations and stuff. And I was fighting hard for a lot of time to be committed to the business. This is back in 2013, when I had no clue what I was doing. And I really regretted that decision, because I think I asked way more than I needed to have time to dedicate to it. And luckily, I was shown the error of my ways, and I eventually reverted back to a more healthy standard. Have you had that happen in your own journey as you now are a parent? Have you kind of had to readjust your commitments and just like, okay, I can't do this at this time, or I need to, turn off my brain at a certain time so that I'm present? Or have you had kind of those readjustments along your journey?
Oh, absolutely. When I first started off and before we had our son, like I would just spend countless hours working on this business and I wasn't really moving the needle. I was doing things that didn't really need to be done and it really
Yeah.
just was like a time suck. and and I
Yeah.
thought,
I've been
how
there.
how am I going to continue doing this and be a father and still be a good supportive husband and take responsibilities around the house? So like I said, it was actually having our son that made me reprioritize and
Mm,
really take a look at how I was spending my time and if it was worth my time and if it was actually something I needed to invest time into. And that right there has really helped because, like you said, I'm now like, I'm very aware of when I need to take time off. And I feel so much more energized and into it and focused when I do take that time to dedicate rather than checking emails all throughout the night or up until I go to bed. We've set clear boundaries, clear schedule, and but that's been so pivotal to moving the business forward, really, because when you're spending so much time in the beginning, you're just wasting your own time. That's like that one commodity you can't get back. That right there.
yeah. And you're, how old is your child?
He's 18 months old.
Yeah. So you're in that very impressionable stage, right? And you're setting cadence for basically the future, right? What is their relationship to you kind of is being established? And it's a fun stage. Right now, I have two little girls, 6 and 8, and they're awesome. And as I've adjusted into full-time entrepreneurship, my challenge has been clear boundaries around work because I work from home, and they love that. And in fact, I'm surprised they're they're not coming in the hot room right now during this entire podcast. I mean, it's fantastic. I don't know how that's happening, but it is what it is. But I have had moments of readjustment as well because there's a time for everything. The last quarter for me, I mean, I was spending probably 50 to 60 hours a week, in my business, which for some people that's like their normal. That's not my normal. That's not how I want to work and operate because that's a great way to get burned out over time, working that much on one thing. Now, I realize though, and so did my wife, that there's a time for everything. And this is a season that will end. The season you're in right now, if I understand correctly, is you've got this big dream, you've got this business, and, you know, it's really exciting and it's taking you places and you're making sales and you're growing. Have you found you've had to course correct some of your goals and how it works with your family? Like, are you at that place where you're pretty clear about that end vision of what you want, or have you had to change it over time?
I would say it's definitely changed over time because if you had asked me when I started, my goal was it would be to be done like working as a pharmacist uh, by right now. I would not be doing it. So, obviously, that did
I
not work.
can,
But I've found a new like passion in my own career because of taking on this role as well. So it's really
mm,
helped me not be as burnt out my current role, my current job at the
yep,
hospital. Um, but definitely with the business, we have a goal in mind to um, take it to the next level, and in a couple like 2 years is when I would really I will be part-time pharmacist
mm,
and
mm,
full or well, part-time entrepreneur, I would say. And because
sure.
I do see myself still in the hospital setting, I really enjoy some of the interactions I get, and I'm saying that now. That's my goal is to be part-time, and
That's a
you
big thing to publicly claim.
I know, to hold myself accountable to it.
you know, it's bold for you to claim it because, well, I think just in the professional world, we have a lot of concerns, right? People listen to stuff, and pharmacy is extremely small, and when you build that expectation, things will happen. When I got really serious about business in 2017 and I said, I'm going to replicate my income in a year, and if I don't, I'm quitting. I mean, it happened. And, it gave me full faith that I could do this as my full-time endeavor. That's what I wanted. But I never shared that publicly. I never shared it because I just didn't I think I think what you just did was really brave because people are going to remember that, they're going to hold you accountable to it. I mean, I am.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I'm a
hold myself
coach.
accountable to
2 years.
2 years.
And it's interesting though that you point out that you're more invigorated by what you do as your day job because of what you do on the side. Um, I think I've mentioned this before, in our podcast, but what we have noticed as trends in people is that once a pharmacist gets into a job that they really do love or enjoy, they either pour themselves into that job or they actually have bigger dreams and aspirations. And they say things like, I would love to build this business, or I would love to work doing this crazy job, whether it's being in comedy, you know who you are, who's listening out there, or you are getting into finance or insurance or real estate or building a business within pharmacy. Was it paradoxical to you when that occurred, or was it more like this makes sense, seeing you reinvigorated by your work, your day job, I should say?
I think I was a little surprised because, I don't fully believe in the current healthcare system model.
You don't say.
So, I mean, it took me by surprise, but I saw the impact I was making and I could make still within it. And, like entrepreneurship, whatever you want to call it, innovating within my own job. I got new ideas for that, which COVID has unfortunately put on hold. But,
Mhm.
you know, just my side hustle gave me, more ideas to take it to my current role, which then reinvigorated my current position and the way I looked at my job each day.
Mm.
And really just the approach and the actual way that I work with the people I the way I interact with the people I see each day at the hospital has just changed drastically since I've learned more about, the holistic approaches, and I've seen like significant results. And um, I think it's those results and those people, those interactions that are really like, it's just like a two-way street. Both things feed into another, and one makes me a better coach, and one makes me a better pharmacist.
Mm.
So
Well, it's a good place to be. That's the ideal place to be if you're building a business. If you're building a business from a place of hatred of what you do, that energy carries over. Um, it definitely did for me. For like the first 3 years of my day job, man, I had a bully of a boss. I went into work like fearful of what was going to happen in our daily huddle, like what was going to be said, and how was I going to be thrown under the bus
oh man.
because I wasn't one of the favorites. And I never am. I'm never a favorite. Uh, just kidding. I'm pretty lucky, but not with her. But that energy carried into my passion in my business because deep down I knew I had to go back. I had to go back into that hellhole that I was in, um, and that really demotivated me at times because it's like, oh, what's the use? But when you can transition into something that you really love, all of a sudden that energy is there and it flows with you wherever you go. And your clients see it, customers, all of that stuff. So it's great. I mean, it's wonderful for you that you're wanting to do that.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that there is a place where you see your business perhaps being more involved in a pharmacy type role or a position, or do you think your business could be sold to a pharmacy as a practice, or is that the kind of, do you
I don't
even
think it
know
could
like
be
where
sold.
that's going?
I don't think it could be sold. It definitely needs to be expanded in terms of services.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, since I'm already talking with a doctor, an osteopathic doctor, and he wants to join and
Oh,
Yeah. So there's
look at that. I've never heard, you're the first of a pharmacist who's created a business that is selling to a doctor who wants to join. It's always the opposite. Way to go, man.
Thank you.
I'm
Yeah,
proud
he
of you.
found me, and he's like, I love what you're doing. And he's actually working at like a functional medicine practice now, but he's
Hmm.
not too thrilled with the approach that they're taking. So
Yeah, of
um,
course.
yeah, I mean, but I'm taking it one step at a time, right? Just one thing at a time, and not trying to fill my plate up too much, because if I try to move too many things at once, then nothing's going to move. Especially like all the things we talked about before, with respecting the time I have with my family, my wife, and I don't want to let my my passion, this entrepreneurship journey, take away those experiences, that initial time I have with my son. Because right now I have every Tuesday off with him, and it has been incredible. Just
Hmm.
like absolutely incredible experience.
Yeah, well, I mean, just like your son learning to walk, right? It's one step. It's not a full rush.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of learning. You're just taking it slow. Um, I've been encouraged just listening to you and hearing your story. I can relate to a lot of the points in my own journey where I was and where I still am. Um, and recognizing, even for myself, there's seasons for everything. Uh, for a time, just even recently, I felt really guilty about the fact I'm like, oh, I was telling my wife, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm spending so much time and I'm so mentally exhausted by the end of the day because I've made so many decisions and all this stuff is weighing on me. And she's been extremely supportive. And it's just a reminder to get back at it. There's seasons for everything, and I am going to be back at it. That's why right after, it's a great way to wrap up this recording, because as soon as we wrap this up, I'm going on a date with my daughter. We're going to go out to dinner and then, I don't know, go for a walk and just hang out and bond, be a parent and daughter and love each other more and more. And I appreciate you sharing, I mean, just some of the trials and journeys you've gone through, Brian. If people do want to connect with you, where should they go?
LinkedIn is probably where I'm most active on social media. Also Instagram, the Fit Farm Dad. Oh,
Wear it with pride, buddy.
yeah, Fit Farm Dad. So that's where people can connect with me on social media if they want to learn more about my journey to parenthood and to being an entrepreneur. Definitely been a wild ride, and I've loved every second of it because it has been such a vehicle for my own growth and transformation. And I wouldn't change this path for anything, really.
That was awesome. I don't think I could end it any other way.